Hi, guys. Welcome back to Sports with Mono and Mono. It's June 28th. Well, Eli, I'm here with, of course, Eli. And Eli was a little warm week this week in New Jersey, wasn't it?
Just a little, not that bad. But today we got some. Not remember today's not better weather. We got rain today. But tomorrow is a day to look forward to. 87 and sunny. But today
Yeah.
you got
Yeah.
rain today. So
Yeah.
enjoy tomorrow.
I know it was hot. But anyway, so we got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. And
Absolutely.
A lot went on in sports this weekend. But we're going to start the show, of course, with the Mono-Logue, which is sponsored by Coriano Trucking. And um, this one's very special to me because, as our loyal listeners know, um, I lost my little brother over a month ago, and so some of his Boston University friends, Robert Fitzmaurice and all of his other friends that Stephen was very close to, wanted to do something. So we did set up a web page, at least on Facebook. You should be able to go. You can look on. It's called the Sports Association of Oakland, and you can make a donation to either the baseball or the football team. And as Eli and I were talking about just before we came on the air, uh, the amount of games, not only me and not only my brother, but my sister played softball down there. So it was a uh, great place to grow up. And we were very fortunate to have such nice facilities down there. And so, Eli, can you bring up the
Yeah, so
QR code?
basically, yeah, so right above Jim's head, there's a little red QR code. That QR code goes right to that Facebook page that Jim's talking about, the Oakland Sports Association. You could
Yep.
scan that QR code. You can go right to the Facebook page, read all about it, and click on the link on where you can donate. You could also get the link from the description of this video. So if you scroll down from the video in the little description, you can type it, you can hit that link, and it'll direct you right to the Sports Association Facebook page where you can learn more on how you can donate and more about the story of the legacy of Stephen.
That's great. Yeah, perfect. And like I said, it's just something to honor my little brother, and um, donations would be certainly acceptable. Now, I think it's you could Venmo, and I don't know enough about how to
Yeah,
Venmo.
you could read all that stuff and about how you can donate and stuff.
Right.
You could just once you get to the Facebook page and go
Yep.
forward into links, you can go from there. Again, this will direct you right to the Facebook page. It's right above. Jim said that little red QR code, and it's also in the description of the video. So when we do take it off a little bit later on the show, you could also look at it later on. You can go back, rewatch it later, rescan, do whatever you like
Yep.
to do. And if
Because
you have any questions or need the link personally, email the show at sportsmonomano@gmail.com or give us a little notification on the social media platforms that we are on.
great. And so you could Venmo up until I think June 7th or June 6th.
July.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
July. But
June
you can
passed already.
all at any time after that, you could send checks to Mike Guadagnino, Guadagnino, and he's the chairman of the Oakland, New Jersey Parks and Recreation in Oakland. One Municipal Plaza, Oakland, New Jersey, 07436. So that can be open anytime after July 6th. So again, we thank you all for your support and your memories of my little brother, and this is just a little something to honor him, and we appreciate it very much.
Absolutely.
Great, great thing. I know my sister was set it up, and like I said, all the St. Joe's guys and the Boston guys and everybody just had some great things to say. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. And again, if you have any questions on how you can get to the link, email the show or give us a comment, whether on YouTube or on our social media platforms. Again, you could scan the QR code. It's above, Jim said, that red QR code up there, or you
Great,
could to get that link in the description of this video.
excellent. Thank you, Eli, for pulling the QR code together. That's
Mhm.
very helpful. Okay, Eli, we got a
Talk some
busy week.
basketball.
Huh?
Let's talk some basketball.
Yeah, go ahead. Start us
Yeah.
off.
Well, with that, the Oklahoma City Thunder are your NBA champions. They defeat the Pacers 103 to 91. 16 million people watched that game on ABC. Sure, it was a great game, obviously, but the biggest storyline of the game wasn't the fact that Oklahoma won the championship, was Tyrese Halliburton going down with an Achilles injury,
Yep.
leaving the game early, was unable to finish, and resulted ultimately in how Indiana lost that game. It really should have been Indiana's win. It should have been their moment to shine. He really was the star for every single playoff game, as you can imagine,
Yep.
throughout this whole, not just this series, but throughout the rest of the playoffs, which made it really good. And Halliburton, unfortunately, suffered that Achilles injury, and
Yep.
it's very sad to see. But
Yeah.
Oklahoma, on the other hand, they win the NBA championship. Not many people were talking about it in like a way, a good thing, more about focus on Halliburton and that injury. But
Yeah.
Oklahoma won in an odd way, though.
Well, it doesn't take away from the season that Oklahoma City had. I mean, they really were the best team in the league,
Right.
and but the storyline would have been Tyrese Halliburton, and I'm going to give this kid big time credit for
100%.
stepping up. He really turned my opinion around of him, and he was carrying that team, and he was a key component. And when he went down,
Absolutely.
that it
The
would have
game
been a
was over pretty
yeah,
much.
it would have been a great storyline, but unfortunately didn't work out. And that's sports. We know injuries are part of the game,
Right.
and
But on the other hand, we know I hate injuries. I hate to say this, but we can now confirm that the game wasn't scripted because you cannot script injuries.
right,
Injuries happen, and that goes to show that this game really went either way. It wasn't, no, the NBA is not fixed or not because we couldn't tell that there was an injury going to happen. We didn't know this is how the game is going to be. So we
yeah,
wanted to just point that out. So that's, I guess, not a good thing to say for Halburn, but a good thing, I guess, to say to save the NBA from saying, oh, it's fixed, this and that.
yeah.
So,
Well, it's kind of ironic because this was a year where three of the biggest stars in the league both all went
go
down with
down with Achilles.
right Jason Tatum and
Right.
Damian Lillard
Now Halburn.
and Halliburton. So unfortunately, it is part of the game. But and these are tough injuries to come back from. Very tough.
Absolutely, they are very tough, but I think he'll come back stronger and better than ever. And I think
Yep,
Indiana wants that championship, and so does he.
yep. And it's a great story too with Shea Gilgeous-Alexander winning the MVP. He
Yes,
was the
that was
MVP
very nice.
in the series, and also in the regular season, he was the MVP. And so this kid had a great season, and he can't take anything away. So congratulations
Yeah,
to
that really was
Oklahoma
awesome.
City. Yeah, that's their first title ever. Great.
And now if we move off the NBA Finals, the NBA Draft took place this week. Cooper Flag, as
Yeah.
expected, goes number one. But another big storyline: Rutgers students and players, they were the key big winners, including Dylan Harper, who, if you don't know by now, he played high school at Don Bosco, and
Yep.
now he got drafted number two to the San Antonio Spurs. Now the Spurs team looks very dangerous, Jim. And considering they have Wembanyama, a very good Dylan Harper, this Spurs team just got dangerous on just a couple of draft picks.
Yeah, we knew that they've been on a kind of a downside. They've had issues even with Popovich going out and so forth. But yeah, the foundation is definitely Wembanyama. This kid is really a super talent. So that's a big improvement getting Dylan Harper for them. And rounding out, obviously, the first pick was Cooper Flag, and
No question.
and he's definitely was the cream of the crop for sure. So he goes to Dallas, and they just re-signed Kyrie Irving. So maybe this Luka Doncic trade at some point in time, you
Did
know,
work out.
bears some fruit because they didn't win a title with him.
But
So
at the same time, though, how many times does the number one pick not always work out, though? How many times does it take a while, though? Versus an experienced player, though. Yeah, it's great they got Cooper Flag, but how well will he perform? What
he's
happened with Zion Williams, for example?
well, yeah, you could do that. I don't think he's a Zion Williamson. He's
Well,
going to
I don't
work
think so
out.
either, but still, I don't know. I think it's going to take some time, and I don't
Right.
think that,
Who were the past number ones like Pablo Banchero and Cade
Wembanyama
Cunningham?
was number one, but Wembanyama
Cunningham,
was yeah, yep, he was.
and they both panned out pretty
They did
well.
pretty well, yeah.
Yeah.
I just think it's going to take some time, that's for sure.
Yeah. So also, Eli, um, when the draft comes around, there's always a flurry of trades, and
Right.
looks like the Boston Celtics are blowing up their team.
Yeah.
So they trade Drew Holiday, they trade Kristaps Porzingis,
Yes.
and of course, Kevin Durant gets traded for
Of course, we knew
the
it was about that was one of my questions I'm going to bring up. Who has more attention nowadays? It's going to be Aaron Rodgers or Kevin Durant? Because both of them right now, they really like to make a lot of media attention, don't you think? Like,
they do.
it's tough to see which one is like the best right now at competing.
Yeah. And
for
there
this
was a
media time.
story. There was a story that came out that Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner, was pretty upset that they broke the news right on the same day as the NBA finals. Which
We knew it was going to do that. We
I
knew that.
know, I know,
It's
but he
nothing
did it.
new. It's Kevin Durant's like Aaron Rodgers, same thing.
I know. But one thing
Uh,
that's still lingering, Eli, is the New York Knicks, and they still
Yeah.
don't have a coach. So you really do have to question whether or not Thibodeau deserved to be fired, which I don't think he did. And then they didn't have a plan, or they just assumed that they would be able to
pick
get
up somebody
Jason
by
Kidd,
now.
right? And that's not going to happen. I
Yeah,
don't think
well, I think he could have stayed another year with the Knicks, but he wasn't winning a championship for them. Yeah, he brought them to the playoffs, but it's been 5 years already. 4 of the 5 make to the playoffs, but 4 of the 5 didn't guarantee you a conference final championship. I don't know, maybe one more year could have stayed on, but if they don't have a plan by now, didn't have a coach ready for the draft, there's something up, and I don't like it, and that's something on the organization.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. And that's why they haven't won a championship in 52 years.
And that it's going to be a long time till they do, until this organization gets better. It's kind of like the Jets situation.
Yep.
In
exactly.
Football.
Exactly.
But back to Dylan Harper and Don Bosco. I remember seeing Dylan Harper play Don Bosco St. Mary's when they played each other. And you could tell right away he was a star. He was the player. He was ready to go. So I'm glad I got to see him when he was in his high school days here. And right away goes to the NBA. So congrats to him. I'm very proud of, to say that a Don Bosco Jersey person made it big.
Yeah.
And it wasn't St. Joe's or St. Mary's, Jim, but maybe one day.
I know. Listen, St. Joe's has some guys that have won NFL championships, so we're good on that.
I guess we're even there, but St. Mary's
and Major League Baseball, Tommy LaStella also.
Okay, yeah. All right.
So the top 5 was Flagg, Harper, Edgecombe, Knuppel, and Ace Bailey. Another Rutgers guy. So 2.
Yeah, but I'm surprised he went all the way number 5 though.
Yeah, I know. But that's something for the Rutgers program, getting two of the top 5 picks. It's something else.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
All right, Eli. Let's
head over to the NHL, I think.
Yep.
Let's talk about their draft last night. Last night, the NHL draft that happened, going number 1 for the Islanders, defender Matthew Schaefer. The best part of the moment was when he got the jersey last night with the Islanders logo and everything. The Islanders had put a special pink breast cancer ribbon on his jersey, showing support to his mother who had passed away due to cancer. And they welcomed him like family. And it was such a cool moment last night for the draft. Yeah. Definitely a little bit of an awkward moment because they had these like interviews with the organizations, but it was like they're all virtual and stuff. So it's kind of like an awkward, weird feeling.
Yeah.
And one of the cooler moments of the night, Roger McQueen was drafted number 10 by the Anaheim Ducks. And as soon as the draft was over, they flew him on a helicopter to Disneyland to go hang out in Disneyland. And not only that, to take a picture with Lightning McQueen because his last name is McQueen. So how would that relationship work? Roger McQueen, Lightning McQueen, what a combo. So they flew him right to Disneyland right after. That was pretty cool. And that's happened in the draft yesterday.
Yeah, there was also some conversations. This kid, James Hagens from Boston College, who was, early on was considered to be the number 1 player. And here's the irony here. He's from Long Island.
Yeah.
And so that was the dilemma whether they go Schaefer or they go Hagens, and ends up Hagens, who played at Boston College, gets drafted by the Boston Bruins.
And guess what? He had Adam Sandler announce the pick.
Yeah.
So how cool is that? And plus Happy Gilmore too.
But yeah, this is just another one of those Boston College guys like Kreider and Brian Leach and all these other guys. That's a hockey factory for future NFL players.
NHL.
Yeah.
Yeah. 2 other notes.
Yep.
I would say forward Matt Martin announces his retirement from the NHL and the Islanders after 15 seasons. He's now named special assistant to the GM for the organization.
Yep. And you know who his father-in-law is?
No, Marty Brodeur.
Nope. Boomer Esiason.
Huh.
That's his father-in-law.
Huh. And you don't think he
listen,
would get
Matt,
transferred to the NFL, not the NHL? That's a surprise there.
yeah, but no, and he's played all but one season with the Islanders, and he was a very tough guy, and one of only 5 players in the league currently to not have worn a visor. Right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there's only 4 guys left that don't wear visors in the NHL. So there's a grandfather clause, just like when they mandated helmets if you were already in the league. And I think Marty McSorley was the last player not to wear a helmet on the ice. So.
Wow, that is crazy.
All right. There's also, I got a couple other things really with the NHL.
I do too.
So the NHL Hall of Fame elections were this week as well.
Yeah.
And here's the names that went in. And I went through them, and I don't have a problem with any of them. First and foremost, Zdeno Chara. He played more games at defense in the NHL than any other player in history. So that's notable. And he at least got one Stanley Cup with the Bruins. So Joe Thornton also, another guy, played a long, long time, former MVP, played most of his career with the San Jose Sharks. He was the guy with one of those big, heavy beards, big, long beards, right? Scored over 1,500 points in his career. No problem there. Duncan Keith, defenseman, played a long time with the Chicago Blackhawks, won 3 Stanley Cups with them. He was also a 2-time Norris Trophy winner for the best defenseman. And also, like I said, he won 3 cups. And, he kind of went under the radar for me. But then when I went back and I looked up his stats, I had no problem with that at all.
Yeah.
And here's another name, Alexander McGillney. He, excuse me, was actually the first Soviet player to defect and play in the NHL, and played, played a long time with the Buffalo Sabres, but he won a Stanley Cup with your New Jersey Devils.
Yeah, he did.
Mm-hmm.
Very proud of that.
473 goals. And like I said, he was just an outstanding player. No question there. And also from Jack Parker, longtime head coach at Boston University, won 3 national championships. He got into the Hall of Fame, and rightfully so, because we always talk about the Bean Pot tournament, which is, in New England, and a lot of NHL players come from Boston University, and they're all products of Jack Parker. So congratulations to the 2025.
Great list.
Yeah, great list. No doubt.
The last note I have from the NHL, the Flyers signed Trevor Zegras from the Ducks for forward Ryan Pohelling, and a couple of draft picks.
Yeah. Flyers have been kind of a doormat for a long time now, so they got
some work cut out for them.
They sure do. All right, great.
Let's go to the MLB.
Yes, and of course,
boy, those Mets.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's talk about it, because the past 10 games or so, both the Yankees and the Mets have been struggling. But
more so the Mets, I would say.
Yeah, but I also keep telling people, relax. There's 162 games. Relax. We knew
but
Soto
they're going a
was
10-game losing streak, though.
Huh?
It's going a 10-game losing streak.
Yeah, they lost 9 out of 10. So, and they bounced back. But again, we're talking about Achilles. Griffin Canning.
Yeah, that was
bad. Game the other night. He's out for the season. Torn Achilles tendon.
What is with this? Everybody getting Achilles injuries. It's really
I don't know. People are trying to correlate it to something, whether it's the fields or the courts. It's just part of being a professional athlete. I don't have any explanation for it. But when you think about it, the Mets will be fine. The Mets are going to go to the playoffs because the year Alonso's having. So, a team losing 9 out of 10, it's going to happen to everybody. It's happened to the Yankees. They were struggling. But one guy who's not struggling, he's still hitting over 360, is Aaron Judge. He's putting up numbers that are great. Hold off. I don't need it. I don't need it. Talk to
my
me in
feelings.
October, right? That's the Eli response. I got it.
This is why, yeah, that's how I feel.
But
we'll
also,
talk in October about that person.
But also, listen, like I said, the Mets, Phillies, they're going back and forth, half game here, half game there, first place, second place. And I know we talked about it, but with Ronald Acuna Jr. coming back for the Braves, I mean, they still got a hole to dig out of. There's still 5 games under 500, but he's becoming really one of the top players in baseball.
Oh, yeah.
And, they got a great lineup. The question is the pitching. Can that get them through? We'll see. And Shohei and the Dodgers continue to win.
Well, I mean, it's Shohei. I mean, no question. I mean, they are the best team.
They are.
Derek comments. He says, "Good morning, Jim. Tuned in early this morning."
Oh, well, thank you very much, Derek. I certainly do appreciate your loyal listenership. And unfortunately, we don't have anything about Indiana to talk about today. So.
No, but it's all right.
Anyway, I got a couple other quick notes. So I saw that, and years ago, especially with the way baseball has been going, guys don't pitch more than 5-6 innings at times. But Clayton Kershaw is 3 strikeouts away from 3,000. That's a very exclusive club in Major League Baseball.
Yes, it is.
He's going to the Hall of Fame without question. So the question came up is, right now there's only, once he gets 3,000, it'll be Scherzer, Verlander, and Clayton Kershaw. And then the only other guys that, if you look at it, with the way these guys only pitch 7 innings, getting 3,000, but the next guy up, believe it or not, is going to be Chris Sale. He's got over 2,500 strikeouts, and if he could stay healthy, he's got one of the best shots, as well as Garrett Cole for the Yankees. He's got 2,200. That's a long way from 300, and these guys aren't young. So they're 35 and older. So, but that's a very exclusive club. I've always been a fan of Clayton Kershaw, and I'm real happy he's going to get 3,000 strikeouts. Great,
incredible.
Yep,
it really is. Let's go on to some soccer talk, because we're going to talk some soccer. Unless you have more notes in the MLB,
I'm going to have to hand that to you. Go ahead.
All right then. Well, we are in the middle of the CONCACAF. We are beginning the quarterfinals today. Here are your matches for today and tomorrow for the quarterfinals. You have Panama with 9 points and a perfect 3-0 record versing Honduras tonight at 7:15 on Fox. Honduras has 6 points in this tournament with a 2-0-1 record from the group matches. At 10:15 time on FS1, Mexico takes on Saudi Arabia. Mexico has 7 points and a 2-1 record, 1 draw in the series. Saudi Arabia, they are entering today with 4 points and a 1-1-1 record, 1 win, 1 loss, 1 draw. They are going to be playing tonight. This is the quarterfinal rounds. They take on Mexico. Tomorrow, 4 o'clock on FS1, you have Canada with 7 points and a 2-1 record. That's 1 draw, taking on Guatemala with 1 win and 2 losses. And you also have 7 o'clock on Fox, USA with 9 points and a perfect 3-0 record. Yes, perfect still, taking on Costa Rica tomorrow at 7 o'clock. That is on Fox. Costa Rica has 7 points and a 2-1 record. The winners will play on Wednesday. Both games will be on FS1. Some great, exciting stuff there. And beginning this week will be the Women's Euros tournament. That starts on Wednesday. I will have more reports and details about the whole tournament and the group stages on next week's show. So stay tuned for that as we get closer to the conclusion of the CONCACAF very soon.
Well, I know guys like Derek and Diego are going to be happy that we actually talk a little bit more about soccer than we used to.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very exciting. I still have to admit, it's still very complicated. All these different tournaments and the
Yeah,
leagues
I
and so
mean,
forth.
when it gets to the World Cup, that's when we focus more in depth. I think even if you're non-soccer fans.
Yeah, well, at least World Cup, I can actually speak with some intelligence a little bit. But all these other tournaments, I got to tell you, I don't know. It's
The
hard for
next
me
one, I
to.
think, next topic that we'll talk about, I know you'll have even more intelligence about the WNBA is up next as we talk about them. The Liberty are going downhill. They now have 4 losses on the season. They go an 11-4 record. They go down to third place. The Minnesota Lynx are in first place. They have a 13-2 record, followed by the Mercury with a 12-4 record. How about this? Aja Wilson from the Aces becomes the fastest player in WNBA history to score 5,000 points. So congrats to her. What a big milestone indeed for her. By the way,
Yep.
if you're wondering, what are the Aces record? Well, they're 7-8 near the end and near the bottom, but they're doing okay for now. Indiana is somewhat right in the middle. If you're wondering about if you're a Caitlin Clark fan, just focus on Caitlin Clark in Indiana. They're right around in the middle. They stand at an 8-8 record.
Yeah.
Today's national schedule, you have Washington taking on Dallas at 8 o'clock. Tomorrow is when you'll have more games for the WNBA. You have New York taking on Atlanta at 3 o'clock locally on My 9, New York. Chicago takes on LA at 4 o'clock on ESPN.
Mhm.
Las Vegas takes on Phoenix at 6 o'clock on NBA TV tomorrow. Connecticut takes on Minnesota at 7 p.m. That's on the local TV. And Seattle takes on Golden State 8:30 p.m. local TV. Check your local listings for that. But a big milestone for Miss Wilson there, as she scores 5,000 points, becomes the fastest in history.
Mhm.
Liberty are starting to go downhill a little bit, but there's still more time to play some basketball. A couple more months ahead before the playoffs begin, where they can regain and move right back up the ladder.
Yeah, I think this league needs Caitlin Clark to avoid these injuries because when she's not playing, it takes a lot of
Perspective away, yes, I
yeah,
understand. Yeah,
it
but
does.
hey, those WNBA finals though, there's something else though. Caitlin Clark, no Caitlin Clark. You gotta watch those.
All right,
All right.
I'm gonna defer. Let's talk a little bit about the NFL.
Okay.
So we're getting close to training camp and you know all that kind of stuff. So a lot of discussions about the off-season trades and Rodgers in Pittsburgh and Wilson in New York and Fields with the Jets and I think one of the more interesting ones is Indianapolis. There's a lot of discussion that this Richardson. Um, this may be a serious shoulder injury that he has, and the fallback plan is drum roll, please, Daniel
Daniel
Jones.
Jones.
Right?
Which honestly, I honestly rather see Daniel Jones than Anthony Richardson. I don't know. I mean, we've seen Anthony Richardson a couple times in the past already. It just hasn't worked out. Maybe Daniel Jones, new uniform, new blood, maybe. I like to
Mhm.
see Daniel Jones get another opportunity. Maybe, hopefully, it works out.
Oh, me too. I was always a fan, but I can't argue with results. And so his days in New York were came to an
Coming down, yeah.
unceremonious end. But that's an interesting team to watch.
Yes.
And that quarterback situation.
Yeah.
Another note from the NFL was Travis Hunter, who potentially is going to be a two-way player, signs his rookie deal, 41 million, 30 million guaranteed for a rookie.
That's a little too much, my friend. Yeah, I think, in my
That,
opinion, that's a lot of money you're giving him. I think it's still early. If he has a successful first season, different story. But if he does not have a successful first season, then you just give him a lot of money, and you're looking at not a good run in the future. And that's how I look at it. I know it's
yeah,
early when you say, but still,
he's going to
look
be
at
he's going to be a good player, but
he'll
we'll
be a
see.
good player, but for that kind of money, I don't
A
know. I
lot of
think it's
money.
too early. You got to
But
look
there's
at like
one
players like
interesting
CJ
thing
Stroud
that
and
came
Jaden
out of the
Daniels, though.
NFL. Yeah.
That's how I compare it to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, those are the future stars for sure. But Eli, there was an interesting thing with it kind of came out that an arbitrator did an assessment over this Roger Goodell and the collusion with the NFL owners to reduce all of this guaranteed money. Because, like we say, And it all started with the Deshaun Watson thing, right? They
Right.
guaranteed this guy $250 million. And, he should be arrested for larceny because he hasn't produced at all. And, but this is an interesting thing. Yet, the league, it's all about money for Roger Goodell. There's no question
Absolutely.
about it. So, but this is a bad optics for the NFL when you have the commissioner. Remember, the commissioner works for the owners. So
Right.
he's trying to convince them to stop with this guaranteed money. And I don't know. It's really, it's almost not a surprise. Because
Right.
Roger Goodell has been, like I said, in the beginning with the concussion thing, he was taking orders strictly from Paul Tagliabue and denying that there was a correlation, and now this. I tell you, for the most popular sport in the United States, to
Most
have a guy
controversy.
like that trying to manipulate what kids can earn and not earn, very, very disturbing story.
It
Very
is.
disturbing.
I got two other notes in the NFL.
Yep.
Justin Tucker has been suspended for the first 10 weeks of the upcoming 2025 regular season in the NFL without pay, following breaking the NFL's personal conduct policy. He is not currently on the contract as he was let go by the Ravens. So I guess he'll maybe now just wait the 10 games for the suspension and then see what goes on from there. And he'll play the regular season now or just skip this season, come back next year. We'll have to just wait and see what happens for Justin Tucker.
Yeah, well, he was kind of on his way out anyway. He's one of the greatest kickers of all time for sure.
No question. But this whole allegation stuff really messed.
Right, but the past 2 years he hasn't been performing anyway. Maybe he just was getting too many massages. I don't know.
Maybe. The last note, Seahawks signed quarterback Shaquille Griffin to a new deal. He left Seattle for a little bit, but now he makes his return. He was with the team from 2017 to 2020. He left. Now he's returning back to Seattle. So that's some good news for Seattle fans.
And I'm looking at one right now. Yeah. What do you think of that? Bringing him back?
I love it. I can't wait to see what happens.
Excellent. Good.
Yeah. All right then. I think it's time for some random points.
It is.
And that is sponsored by Lynch Toyota of Manchester, Connecticut.
Yeah. And as I wanted to start because remember a couple of weeks ago I told you president of Lynch Toyota sent me and you an autographed copy of the book Dynasty, and I just started it. And just a very, very interesting story about how Robert Kraft ended up buying the New England Patriots.
Really?
Yeah, just a great story. He grew up in Boston and was a Patriots fan, and he was always determined to buy it, and he got shut out not once but twice. But he ended up buying the team, and the rest is kind of history. But I love the book so far. I haven't even gotten into the Brady and Belichick story. But this is a really good book and written by a fellow named Jeff Benedict. So
excellent. Very good.
All right. I got a few random points here.
I do too.
Okay. Go ahead first.
All right, then. St. Joseph's High School, where you go to, has hired Patrick Kelvin as its new athletic director. Patrick
Kilvahan.
Kilvahan. Thank you.
Yep.
He played 137 games in the MLB and played for Team USA during the 2020 Olympics in Tokyo. He served as the director for the USA basketball program and played baseball at Rutgers before becoming an outfield for the Reds, the Padres, and the Diamondbacks.
I actually saw him play. He was playing 2 years ago for the Rockland Boulders up in Piermont, New York.
Yes. So. Wow.
Yeah.
He begins his job July 1st. And Jim, you got some homework to do. We need we got to get this MLB star and talk about St. Joseph sports.
We will.
Grant Hill joins NBC Sports as an NBA analyst, and Maria Taylor will be your studio host for NBA and WNBA games when it returns to NBC and Peacock this upcoming fall.
Yeah, rising star.
Yeah. Shane Gills will host the ESPYs on July 16th. Voting, by the way, is now open on ESPN.com, so fans, you can vote if you like for the ESPYs and who gets what award.
Well, I didn't even know who Shane Gillis was until actually one of our listeners, Derek, who mentioned that because there's a Netflix series called Tires, and
Yeah.
Shane Gillis is in it. I tried it. I watched 3 episodes. Didn't knock me off my seat, but
He hosted
anyway.
SNL a couple times too.
Is that right?
Uh,
Okay.
yeah, so if he was pretty good. And CBS Sports will be the new home for the next 5 years to the Pac-12. That was announced as well.
Excellent.
That's what I got for random points. Up to you, Jim.
Okay. So interesting story, and it was a great tournament, right? Right after the US Open, they play the Travelers up in Connecticut. And Keegan Bradley, who's from New England, by way of St. John's, actually, but and he's obviously the Ryder Cup captain coming up for 2026. And this is his second title. It absolutely was heartbreaking to see Tommy Fleetwood, who I was surprised to find out has never won on the PGA Tour. He's always
Wow.
up there, but Keegan Bradley, birdies 18, Fleetwood bogeys 18, and he's a hometown favorite. And like I said, I liked it. It was a great tournament, but here's the dilemma coming up. Does he pick himself to be a player on the Ryder Cup team? That's a big question,
Good question.
because if he does that and he doesn't perform, then it's a bad decision. If he does and comes up big and the U.S. reclaims the Ryder Cup trophy, he's a hero. But he's a real determined kid, and I was very happy to see him win the Travelers. Excellent tournament. And Eli, we brought up a couple of weeks ago that Jets owner Woody Johnson was considering buying Crystal Palace, the soccer club, right?
Yep.
And he ended up doing it, buying it 43%. So maybe he's going to sign all these other guys, but he doesn't do much.
Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, right. How'd that go? This was an interesting thing. So Fernando Tatis Jr., who, remember when he first came into the league, he signed a big contract with the Padres. And the part of that clause, and this is what he's actually suing the agency that signed him, because they're tagging him. They gave him $1 million up front, and they get a percentage of his $34 million in the last few years of his contract. So, the question is, was he too young? Was he taken advantage of? But hey, I say the guy's making a ton of money. How that's going to go remains to be seen. But that's an interesting thing. And again, it's with this guaranteed money, and they're signing these kids when they're 17, 18 years old in Major League Baseball. So you got to keep an eye on something like that. That's interesting.
All right.
And also, Eli, just a heads up to our loyal listeners that Saratoga Racetrack opens up the season on July 10th. And like I've told folks, if you haven't done it, do it. It's a beautiful, beautiful venue. Of course,
it hosted the Belmont Stakes a couple times.
We had the Belmont Stakes there the past 2 years. But that opens July 10th and goes all the way to Labor Day. But a note, there used to be one day off at Saratoga. Now, Monday and Tuesdays during their stretch, there's no racing on those days. So,
I guess it's a good thing.
Yeah, but if you're going to plan to go up there either during the week or the weekend, and you won't be disappointed. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. Beautiful. All right, Eli.
Well, it is now time for the entertainment and photo segment. You could scan the other QR code to learn more about Vital Selections, our sponsor.
Yep. And okay, so I got a recommendation. It's a movie I hadn't seen in a while, but have you? I don't know if you've seen Wedding Crashers, perhaps.
No, never
with
did.
Vince Vaughn, Owen Wilson, Bradley Cooper, Christopher Walker. Very funny movie. Well worth it. So that's my recommendation for the week. What do you got?
Well, Macy's 4th of July fireworks is this Friday, 8 o'clock on NBC. Yes, it's 4th of July weekend. I know it's crazy to think about. Also, this Friday is the Nathan's Famous Hot Dog Eating Contest at 12 o'clock on ESPN2 for the men's, and the women's will be around 10:30 a.m. on ESPN3/ESPN Plus. And on 626 Day, which was Thursday, which is like the thing for Stitch. They announced Lilo and Stitch 2 is now in development. So after the success of Lilo and Stitch 1, the live action.
You know, it's funny that you bring that up because I was flipping around the channel and I saw there's a cartoon, right? Lilo and
Yes,
Stitch.
there is a cartoon. It
I,
used to be an animated movie. Then it became the live action movie, and they also had like an animated series before then, a long time
right.
ago.
Well, tell me who Lilo and Stitch are. I don't know who they
Yeah,
are.
so Stitch is an alien creature from space. He gets sent to Earth. Lilo is just a normal human being living in Hawaii, and
Okay.
it wants a dog, adopts Stitch, and then the craziness begins because he is a crazy animal, but he really
Okay.
becomes a nice person.
All
It's
right.
just a funny movie. And
Yeah.
now you get Lilo and Stitch 2 live action coming your way soon
Oh,
in development. Announced on 626 Day, his
can't wait.
experiment number.
Yeah.
Well, here's
All
some
right. So
photos more important.
we got some photos, and that's my grandson Hudson. Look at him wearing his Michael Jordan jersey.
With spaghetti, and I think that's ice cream on the side or something. And yeah,
I think it's spaghetti and meatballs,
yeah,
actually.
and then something else on the side. I think that's ice cream. I want to say.
Probably. Yeah,
Yeah,
probably.
yeah, good for him.
Look how cute he is, though. It's
Yeah.
awesome. Yep. And Eli, this is just regarding our Savannah trip. That's General Sherman's headquarters after the famous March to the Sea. And again, the Civil War and actually the American Revolution as well, very historic there. And that's a sign a picture of I took that was Sherman, and trying to free the slaves and give them, retributions and property and so forth. And then after Lincoln was assassinated, Andrew Johnson came over and revoked it. So, that
Wow.
just gives you an idea how polarizing the issue of slavery back in the Civil War days really was.
Yeah.
But very historic, very beautiful place. And as I mentioned to you early on, I getting a ticket to the Savannah Bananas is virtually impossible.
Yeah. Well, that's on everybody's list now of things to
Yeah.
do in life. So we will all have that written down.
And I have one other picture I wanted to share because this
Yep.
was,
There you go.
yep, that's probably the greatest baseball player of all time, obviously subject. And some people think he couldn't compare today with then, but I say back in 1927 when he hit 60 home runs, nobody else was hitting 60 home runs. And they were facing the same pitchers, the same balls, bigger stadiums. So that's a great picture. And that,
Babe Ruth, by the way,
yeah,
for those wondering.
that's one of my little brother's prized possessions, and now I own it, and I'm gonna pass that on to somebody else when my day is up at some point.
Well, now it's a horrible lead off, but I guess
No, that's a long way to go. I'm just saying. I mean,
because our next segment's on Noah passing, so it's like okay, it's an interesting lead off choice. But
no breaking news here. I'm in this for the
okay,
long haul. I'm in it for the
all
long
right, it's time now for some notable passes.
haul. All right, Eli, I'll go through mine, and if I miss somebody, you let me know. All right.
Here we go.
So, Mick Ralphs, founding member of both Bad Company, who had a lot of big hits, a lot of big hits.
And Mott the Hoople,
No, Mott the Hoople.
Mott the Hoop.
And
Same
believe
thing.
it or not, there's probably a song that you know by Mott the Hoople. But Mick Ralphs was 81. He's been sick for a while. But yeah, definitely a pivotal figure in one of the great bands of the 70s and the 80s. No question about it, right? Also from the world of music. And this guy was kind of in the David Cassidy mold, right? This teen heartthrob. But Bobby Sherman passed away, and he was also 81. And Bobby Sherman actually had a couple of big hits. Eli, I'm sure you know Easy Come, Easy Go was maybe his biggest hit. That's a great song. But he also, after that, became a CPR instructor for the Los Angeles Police Department. So,
interesting.
I mean, he really did he was a genuinely great guy and did a lot of good after his, music career was over. So he was 81, as I said. Another one big from the world of,
History,
well, I don't want to say history. I want to say, let's say, media,
politics.
right?
Yeah.
Bill Moyers, 91. Bill Moyers had a very interesting
Yeah. He was
career
the
in
White House secretary
journalism.
at one point
Yeah, he
before
was a
working
White
at
House.
PBS News.
Yep, he was a White House press secretary, I think, for Lyndon Johnson.
Yes, for
Um,
2 years, 65 to 66 for Johnson.
and listen, I mean, you're right. He did have PBS shows. He was on CBS, and very, very professional. I didn't agree with a lot of his political views, but
Correct.
I'm only talking about, we recognize people that definitely had an impact one way or the other in culture.
And he
He,
had an impact for
he
sure.
certainly did. He was a solid, solid professional. Big loss for the media right there. And another guy, here's an interesting one. Rick Hurst. Now, I don't know if you watched it. I never watched the show, Dukes of Hazzard, but he was on the Dukes of Hazzard, which was one of the most popular shows of the early 80s, maybe even late 70s. I don't know. But if you don't know the name, you certainly would recognize the face. He was in a million different TV shows, a lot of different movies, very, very unique looking face. But he was, yeah, he was made a very successful career in both movies and television.
Interesting.
And Eli, this is one that came up, and actually I missed it last week. Was Fred Smith, the founder of
Yeah.
FedEx, and I was surprised to learn that he was only 80 years old.
Yes.
And you pointed out, what was the correlation?
He was the father of Steelers offensive coordinator Arthur Smith.
Is that I didn't even know that, right?
Yeah, that was what the initial report said. Yeah.
Right. He was a former head coach, I believe, of the
Yeah, Atlanta. Yeah.
Atlanta Falcons. Right.
Yeah, the last one was Lalo Schifrin, a music composer who wrote the theme song for Mission Impossible. He died at the age of 93 and born in 1932.
Yeah, that's definitely a notable musical theme song for a great show.
Yes.
I haven't seen most of the Mission Impossible movies
Yeah,
with Tom
but
Cruise, but the TV show was definitely great, and I think that was in the 70s.
right.
Yeah, but I actually saw a
Still.
clip of him playing the theme song to Mission Impossible on the piano. It was pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah, it
That's
was
pretty
great.
cool.
Yeah, so that guy
Well,
certainly left his mark, right?
oh yeah, 100%. And with that, what a great show.
We covered a lot of stuff, Eli,
We did.
and again, I thank you for putting together the ability for people to scan the QR code, and I want to wish everybody a happy 4th of July, because the fact that
Yes,
you and I can do this show is because we gained our independence on July 4th. But
absolutely.
I urge people to be safe, because, unfortunately, a lot of people go out and they go overboard with
Right.
fireworks. There's a lot of injuries and things. So just be careful, but celebrate our country's history. And you mentioned the New York City fireworks. I think they moved it to the
River.
East River.
They're on the East River this year. It usually rotates between Hudson and East, but this year it's on the East River.
Yeah, I had an opportunity one year to see the fireworks from a boat, of all things,
From
in New
where?
York.
From Hudson or East?
Hudson.
Oh, Hudson. Oh, okay.
Yep, that was a great time.
I'm
Beautiful.
sure it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on the list to go see for sure.
And I know one of the more popular fireworks shows around our area, where we are here in New Jersey, is Ridgewood, New Jersey.
Ridgewood. Really? I thought it was Richfield or something like that.
No, I think
The
Ridgewood
Leonia,
is
something like that. The Leonia, the park, Bergen County Park. They do like a Star Spangled Spectacular with the fireworks, I think.
maybe. But I used to take my kids to the Ridgewood fireworks every
Okay.
year, which is always a nice thing.
Yeah, there's fireworks everywhere. I know Edgewater has it. Fort Lee does pretty good, I heard. So
Yeah.
everywhere has fireworks. So just check your town's local listings or whatever you got.
You bet. But everybody be safe, and happy July 4th. And again, thank you all for joining on the show and the comments. Derek, thank you. And I know Frankie's listening, and Diego's going to be happy because we talked about soccer. So,
Oh,
but I
yes,
hope
he is.
everybody has a great week, and the holiday is Friday, so enjoy that. And Eli and I will be back next week at
As of right now, 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
I didn't get my schedule yet, so 10 o'clock. So yeah.
All right, so we've gone 2 weeks in a row at 8 o'clock, so
We should be good for 10 next week.
Yeah, we'll let you know via our social media pages
Yes.
that Eli takes care of. And
Yep.
everybody have a great week. Happy 4th of
Yes.
July.
Have a great week, everyone. Enjoy the 4th.
See
Bye-bye.
ya. Thanks.